Okay, 1, 2, check. All right, here we are. This is the pilot episode of the Builder's Block podcast. I go by Modify. I'm here with my good friend, Jerry's Bush.
What's up? What's up?
What's going on, man? So we're going to talk a little bit about building and creativity, things that we like to build and create,
Nice.
stuff like that, making all kinds of stuff. So I've known you for a while. You're pretty big on the making of things. So
Nice, yeah.
take me through a little bit of how you became a creative person, like just
Wow.
as a kid.
Okay. Man, my creative side starts really, really young.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, I could tell you a story about the first creative project that I put together as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
When I was in elementary school. I think it was my third or fourth grade year. It's my fourth grade year in elementary school. And I had an idea to create a little comic book, and like hip hop was always something I loved, right? I always like MCs and rapping, like Tribe Called Quest was my shit at the time, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So I was like, yo, man, like I want to do like something concerning hip hop, and I love the TV show Rugrats. Remember that show? Rugrats?
Oh yeah, man, Rugrats was awesome.
Oh,
Everything
shit.
on Nickelodeon was great.
Yeah, she was fire.
Yeah.
So I did something called a Rug Raps, right? So what I did was I drew a whole comic book up. I had Tommy, Chucky, Phil, and Dill, right? And like they're all in this rap group. So I did a whole little narrative, like drawn into a comic book. And the whole story was about like Tommy and Chucky like going to this rap contest, right? So drew a whole comic book up, like made each panel, drew each panel, colored each panel. And then me and my homeboy, it was Jake, his name was Jake. We snuck into like the printer, the office, and like printed off like multiple copies of it, right? Mm-hmm. And then from there, like I went to the community and sold copies of this comic book during coupon book season, because I always felt like the coupon books are some bullshit. I think
Yeah.
I think coupon books was playing off a kid's cuteness, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna flip it on these motherfuckers, and like use that time of year to like pretty much go around and sell my comic books.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, man, I sold about 20 copies, man. Raised about like $100 and bought myself like one of those little VR video games.
Mm-hmm.
You remember like the Red Shield video games that had like the
Virtual Boy?
the virtual something, had like the screen you flip down over your eye.
Oh, yeah,
and it
yeah.
projected like a little red.
Mm-hmm. That wasn't the
image.
Virtual Boy, but I know what you're talking about. I
Yeah,
just
yeah.
can't think of the name of it.
But yeah, man, that was my first project that I put together, and like bought myself a video game system with it. So yeah, creativity has always been something that's
Nice. And also, it's kind of like entrepreneurial creativity.
Yeah.
So since a very young age, you were using your creativity and monetizing that. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, definitely, man.
So what about, what got you into hip hop, man? Did you start doing like hip hop with some kids in school or anything like that?
Well, I think one of my first experiences with hip hop was that my brothers and I were going to visit my grandmother, right? And then my grandmother's like, my uncle stayed there as well, and he was like 20 something at the time. So, he was transitioning out of living with his mother. But when we would visit, our uncle would have us like freestyle rap, right? And it was funny because like he was like a big fan of like Tool. He loved rock and roll music. Like this dude was like, he was so eclectic in his ear. But he would have us freestyle. And like for some reason I always had like the best rhythm with rapping. So like I wasn't really saying words, but my rhythm was on point. I had like a good flow. So yeah, that was like my first experience with actually doing rap, like being an MC. And I guess like one of the biggest things that happened like in my childhood that made me like think like, yo, I want to do this for real. Was my good friend Michael Tate. During my third grade year, actually in elementary school, we had this competition for like this rap part that was in this United States like song. So the song was about all the states in the U.S. and like there was one little rap part, and it was like three young kids that was going up for the part. So me and Michael were like in the last like duel to see what kid get it, and then Michael, he got it. I didn't get it. I didn't have the delivery he had. But yeah, to see him on stage and performing that song during the whole the kids recital for like the President's Day or whatever, it was dope to see that young man on stage like speaking to it with authority because he had rhythm and he had like a voice. From seeing that, I was always inspired to do it. So from then on, I'm like, yo, man, we need to rap together, dude. Let's start like a rap group. And then after that, man, I bought like karaoke machines. Like I try to find ways for us to work together and do music. And yeah, man, from there, I've always been doing it.
That's interesting. I used to use karaoke machines for the same thing, not rap music, but you could overdub. So before I had like a 4-track recorder, I would use a karaoke kind of boom box set up to do the same thing and
like
overdub.
Double tape cassette, you put the one tape and another one in there.
Yeah.
Yes.
I still have a lot of those classics. A lot of those. Do you have any of that stuff?
Nah, man.
Hanging around?
Yeah, it's all history now.
It's all history.
Yeah.
Cool. So where did it go from there? Like,
man, it just kept going. I got my karaoke machine, and I actually had another business little like endeavor to be able to raise money to buy the karaoke machine.
Oh yeah, what was that?
I actually got my first little recording equipment machine, recording karaoke machine during middle school. I actually made up a lie.
Yeah.
But like I was the compost kid, so like I would go to by each table after lunch and get the compost. So all the perishable items I put in like a little compost bucket. But what I would do is I would ask all the kids like, "Yo, man, you need your change? Can I get your change? Like, you good?" You know, I might buy ice cream or something have like 50 cents left. Like, let me get your change. So, dude, I got like everybody's change. They would give it up to me, and like for like a month or two, raise up like $90. Then bought this karaoke machine. So from there, it was on. And I guess the first mixtape we put together was our 8th grade year in middle school. Like we recorded it through the karaoke machine. Had a homeboy that knew how to convert tape cassettes into CDs. So like we had our first CD burnt in 8th grade. So that was like where it started. And from there, every year we put out a project. Every year through high school and all that good shit. Middle school, high school. So,
nice. Yeah. You got any of those left?
What
was the crew called?
Oh man, we was gangster, dude. All right, so the first squad was called Drop Squad, and that was me and Michael.
I like that.
Right, Drop Squad. And that was inspired by an old Spike Lee movie called Drop Squad. And it's a pretty wild movie. It's all about like taking Uncle Tom's. You know what Uncle Tom is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, brother that, Uncle Tom has. So
yeah.
So they would take Uncle Tom's and like try to like re-brainwash them to like take in their culture. It's a Spike Lee film. It's like kind of too much, but yeah, I thought the name was dope. So yeah, Drop Squad was the first rap group. And then after that, I went to high school and met like a lot of other homies that rap. And then it got more gangster. So our first collective I had in high school was called Certified Street.
Certified Street.
Certified Street, bro. Yes, Certified Street. And I got my first car like in was it my sophomore year? Like end of my sophomore year. And dude, I was wild. I got like was it a decal? I got a decal on my front windshield, Certified Street on my windshield of my car.
What kind of car was
it? Nissan Maxima 1992.
Nice. My first car was a Nissan Sentra.
Dope.
87. Old
Dope.
as fuck.
Dope.
Little cereal box car. Yeah. Oh yeah. It was good until I got it cracked in half by a semi truck. It was wild. I was 17.
Oh my God, brother.
Yeah. I was following my girlfriend to a hotel party on Alcoa Highway at the Family Inn, and I got in a wreck, and she was drunk.
She was drunk.
You
was following her, and she was drunk.
Yeah.
Thanks. What following these girls do to you?
Get your car broken. Oh man. So we're both members of the Good Guy Collective,
yes.
right? I didn't come into the fold on that until I had actually already moved away from Knoxville, was living in Nashville.
Yeah.
So I don't really know a whole lot about how that formed.
Okay.
So yeah, how did all that come together?
Just kind of back up to high school, because I think it all connects. I think collectives and working in community with artists has always been something I saw as valuable. But following high school, like I went to college for a year, or for a semester or two. It wasn't quite a good fit for me in terms of like what my interest was, because I went directly to trying to seek money, trying to find a.
We'll let that
ring for a second. Let that ring out.
We're live at the Bird in the Book. The bookshop is still open. It's a Monday. We're going to start doing these at 4 o'clock on Mondays or Sundays, hopefully.
Yeah.
But looks like someone answered it, so we'll go ahead.
Good.
So Good Guy Collective.
Yeah. So went to college for a year. Wasn't quite in my in terms of like what I went to school for wasn't necessarily like in a line of what my interests were, you know. So I dropped out after like a semester or two. Then got directly into being in my own band. So like I started a band called The Theorist, a hip hop band, and from there I like started connecting with other artists in the community, and that's when I met DJ Wiggs, and also Lane Schuler, and also within the band, Black Atticus was in it, and then I had like a couple other artists in there as well that were featured, like Kobayashi was featured. So the band was pretty much like the Voltron, like in terms of all of the artists that we felt fit within the vein of what we're trying to do artistically. So from there, we decided like, yo man, like we still want to work together on multiple projects aside from The Theorist. Like, how about we get a studio and like kind of work together, right? So I think there was a show that Wiggs did with The Theorist up in Asheville, North Carolina. So we went to Asheville and we had a show. The show was kind of horrible. We did a trade show with an artist named Bobby Effin White. Are you familiar with Bobby Effin White?
Bobby Effin White? Bobby
Effin White.
No.
Bobby fucking White.
Is he fucking white?
He's fucking white, dude. And for folks, I love Asheville, North Carolina, but like it was like the most like progressive, but kind of in like a really hipster, like not authentic way, you know. So whatever.
Yeah.
But, whatever. So we did a show there. It was a bad show, and Wiggs was like, yo, man, like, how about we like start a collective, dude? Like, just kind of work together. I'm like, yeah, man, that's a good idea. So you got an idea? So it's called the Good Guy Collective. I'm like, dude, that's a dope name, Wiggs. Good name, fam. So yeah, it started from there, and then slowly after that, we got a studio space at the Birdhouse. Actually, the first project that really brought the collective together was a rap group called Plunderphonics that Wiggs, Lane Schuler, and myself was all in, and
I remember listening to Plunderphonics.
Yeah.
So when I had first moved to Nashville from Knoxville.
Dope. And I think it was 2013.
Yep.
Yeah, 2013. And Plunderphonics was what really like brought us together. Like, yo, we can do a lot of cool shit together. So yeah, that's what really started.
Word, man.
Yeah.
So I guess would the Asheville event be the birth date?
I guess so.
The conception of the Good Guy Collective. We have to find out what that date is so we can start celebrating that shit.
Sure we can.
Get a cake.
I bet there's a flyer somewhere. If we go to Bobby Effin White's MySpace page or something, we can find out what it's called.
Give it up to Bobby Effin White.
Bobby Effin White, man.
Brought the collective together. All right.
Bobby fucking White.
Cool, man. So with the Good Guy Collective, what would you say it is to be a good guy?
Wow, that's a really good question. I think to be a good guy, you got to be willing just to work in community with artists, you know. And I think as of now, we're more so of a brotherhood internally, you know. And we just kind of support artists in the community outside of the collective as well. So it's cool that we can identify like who fits within the at least the vision of what we believe a good guy is, you know, and we can support them whether they're in the collective or not. But yeah, it means that you're willing to work together, work in community, and also you're dope. You got to be good.
Yeah, you got to be good at what you do.
You got to be good at what you do, you know, and it's beyond music, you know. Like we have a lot of collective members that do other things aside from like making tracks. For example, you know, podcasts. So being able to build and create something with your creative ability. So that's what it's about. You got to see beyond just being on stage. I think that's what really makes you a collective member. So,
cool. So let's talk about like Flight School a little bit. That's an event that I believe you created for the Good Guy Collective, or it was collectively created.
Yes. I think it was one of the coolest programs or events that we started. That actually came from so Wiggs actually moved to Nashville.
To live with me.
Yeah, to live with Modify.
Yep.
And Wiggs was coming. He'll come back from time to time to visit his girlfriend here in Knoxville. So one weekend he was back in town, and I was like, "Yo, man, like we should like get a showcase together and do something that's like a regular event, you know, and have Wiggs come and spin and like have something that's consistent." So it was a cool thing because there was like some young artists there as well. We had Chastity Chic. She was there. Also Benji's 3 Hours was recording his first album at the time too. So yeah, we're in the studio, and one day we're like, yo, man, let's do it. Let's get a monthly showcase together with you spinning and like get some young artists up in there, like kind of can support the young artists and put them out. It's like, cool, man. So we decided to just come up with a concept for like, okay, how could we put artists in the forefront and support them? So that's where Flight School came from. So Wiggs like kind of drew up the layout for like the event, you know, because Wiggs is like a really articulate dude. He's really good at just like, you know, like figuring out like how to connect dots. That dude is just.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. But yeah, we sit down and drew up the idea for the show, and it's wild because like it started out as just a showcase, like presenting artists in the community, and over time it slowly like morphed and became more and more and more. Because we realized like the concept of Flight School was all about like evolving and flying out of your comfort zone, you know? Mm-hmm. And also it's a play off of the birdhouse, you know? So like, how do you learn to fly at the birdhouse, you know? So it was a community showcase where we would have a featured artist every month. And pretty much the goal was for like the artists that will open up for him to get to the part, well, open up for the artist, the headlining artist, to get to a point to where he's the headliner. So it's like a slow rise of like experience and performance. And from there, we would try to do a show outside the birdhouse and like give them another step. So it was all about creating steps for artists to get outside of the community center, you know? But from there, it morphed because we realized like artists thought it was like, oh shit, I'm the dude. They got me on a flyer, on a bill with me levitating. I'm the guy, you know? So it slowly morphed from that to like, yo, how do we like show these artists that they're actually supporting something greater than just them, you know? So Flight School became more of a community event that supported organizations and people that are doing like hands-on work. So our first Flight School show that we like shifted from just presenting artists to having artists support the community was a show we did called the Divine Feminine. Mm-hmm. So it was all about just uplifting the women in our community, you know, and just like paying homage to like what the roles they play, you know, in our community, and more specifically, along the lines of like mothers and how like the mother is like a big attribute to everybody's life. Everybody comes from a womb, right? Mm-hmm. So yeah, and then from there, like it shifted. After the Divine Feminine show, it became all about like how do we support the community and how do we like have art serve to build community. And then it shifted again. You know, we realized like, okay, cool, like we can give youth and like artists hands-on experience with music. How about we teach? You know, then that morphed to where we would have like going to schools and teach at elementary schools and teach kids how to do music and how to perform and how to produce projects, you know, and then we brought the kids into the process of supporting the community. So like the youth could actually see like, wow, this is really a more involved process than just being a rapper or being a singer. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's cool. Like I think the program shifted through time to really like serve in a way that can make a community fly ultimately, you know, evolve. So
Exactly. Yeah. It's pretty cool how all that comes together. Like I liked how Flight is involved in all the names, or the birdhouse where you're at the bird in the book. You know, like you have an event series called Flight School. Graduation of that is Out the Nest.
Out the Nest, yeah.
You know, and then taking it into the school systems. Mm-hmm. You know, you went to InSkip, right?
Yeah, InSkip.
And how did all of that come together with you getting in with UACS and all that?
Well, it was really synchronistic, actually. So I collaborated, or at least I spearheaded the collaboration with the collective and a group called Cattywampus Puppet Council. And like they do puppetry like throughout Knoxville community. They're dope organization. But they have an annual puppet parade they throw every year. That's like one of their biggest programs. But also they do education in schools as well. So we came into a relationship with them and decided to put together a theater piece called What the Water Tells Me. And the collective was in charge of like producing all of the soundtrack for the whole project. So we did a play / soundtrack / album we call it a puppet hip hop opera. Pretty much, right?
I hadn't heard it called that, but opera. Yeah, that's pretty fitting.
But through that play, it actually addressed like the educational system and how education has been voided from the arts. Now that's a big issue with creatives like us, like builders, you know. And from there, like one of the collaborators, a part of the play, that actually wrote the narrative for the play, she worked for Skip Elementary, and that was actually my older elementary school where I did the rug raps, So
that's perfect. You got to go back to your roots.
Yeah, got to go back to the roots and then teach the youth like, yo, this is what I was doing when I was here, and y'all can still do this, and then start working for them for like a little over a year, and we put out 2 projects there. We did a play for Alice in Wonderland. So we did like a whole hip hop, like original soundtrack for Alice in Wonderland. And then, the following year we did following semester that is, we did a whole play for the Nutcracker for the winter formal. And
So moving forward, you've stepped away from that, but you want to carry that program forward.
Yeah, definitely. We stepped away from it because what I wanted to offer, and I learned over time, like I couldn't really just teach just music alone, because there was so much more involved. That's why I'm in a collective, There's so many pieces, components to music aside from just, hey, singing and rapping. Like, you got to be able to put together album artwork. You got to be able to organize an event. You got to be able to create artwork in general, So there's so many components that play in the music, and production and getting community together. So, it was just too, I was offering a whole lot than what they could really support, because they wanted someone just to teach music, like instruments, but like I can do that, but I can do a lot more, so we couldn't really support that. So just looking to expand that work beyond just, just music.
Yeah. So is your plan moving forward to kind of take that into more schools?
Yeah.
Okay, so like, or more like after school programs, like have you reached out to anyone yet? Or?
Yeah, more so after school programming. I reached out to an organization. I'm in talks with the Boys and Girls Club right now with how we can collaborate, because they have a bigger pool of like schools they can reach out to. And ideally, my vision would be just to have one site that multiple kids that are interested in it can come to and can like do the flight school program after school, But that's the vision, to be able to run that program with them and teach them how to write songs, teach them how to produce, teach them how to like put together artwork for an album. And after that, like, yo, here's how you host an event. Here's how you get your friends out, So teaching the economics of it as well. Because I think the biggest piece that we kind of miss through our educational system is, like, you got to survive. It's not just about you learning how to read and write. That's important. But there's just economics in there too, So how can art be used to support you? And also bring people together, so
Cool, man. So what exactly, like walk me through like the curriculum.
Okay, cool. It's real simple. It starts off with just a history of hip hop, like what hip hop is, why it's important, how hip hop was used as a tool for like people for voiceless people to speak up, and find their voice and find their power. So starts with hip hop, and then from there, it goes into like a segment of like finding your voice in hip hop. So like each young kid to be able to pick their own MC name or like their own like DJ name, or like dancer name, like whatever aspect of hip hop speaks to them, right? And then from there we go deeper into like, okay, so how do you write a song? Like what's songwriting? So you break down the matrix of like beat production, and like how to count bars, like how to know like when to switch off like to a verse to a hook, so understanding song progression, right? And then from there, it's okay, how do you make a beat? To like put your verses and your bars on the beat. So then we go into like either Fruit Loops or like software like Reaper, this is how you make a beat. And then storytelling. Okay, cool, you got your beat. You know how to rap, you understand music. So what story you want to tell? What's your story? So from there you find out like what the narrative is that these kids want to talk about. So that can go into like story circles, or just just discussing with the kids like, hey, what's going on in y'all life today? Like, what do y'all want to rap about? So from there you make the beat, storytelling to recording. So this is my favorite part. This is where you bring the studio into the class, like have like a little interface and like projector screen, projecting the interface onto the screen, and like pretty much walking them through like, okay, this is how the software works, and this is how you lay your vocals onto the track along with the beat. And then after that, it's performance. So it's time to perform your tracks, So they perform it, perfect that, and then it's production. Like how do you put the whole product together or the product out? So they're walked through the whole process, you know. So yeah, it's typically the kids I work with at Inskip. I was there for 2 semesters, but I say after the first half of the semester, they can really get a grasp of like how to write, you know, and it takes like other half to really get them into like the recording and being a part of the process of putting the shit out. So putting the shit out.
Putting the shit out. So ideally, man, would you like to be able to, you know, like at some point have like an in-house setup to where the kids can get more hands-on with it, you know, like actually do more of the production? Seems like you've definitely, you know, you've walked them through everything.
Yeah.
And I think the only thing left for them to do would actually be making the beats and actually be recording it or producing it.
Yeah, ideally that'll be like where the process will lead to. It's like, okay, this is how you can do it. Now it's like youth-led and the youth really run it. Because when I was doing it as a kid, I had no adult to come and show me how to make beats. Had no adult to show me how to put together a song or write, you know. But it's cool that we have that just to give them a little head start. But yeah, the idea will be for it to be youth-led. So my idea would be, okay, I go into a school, teach for a little bit, and hey, here's the equipment, y'all run it, you know, or come into the collective studio. Okay, cool, this is how you do what you need to do, and hey, here's an interface, here's here's some beat software for you to do it on your own. So
is that, what would you need to make it the best it could be? Like what tools would you need to make that happen?
That's a really good question. Wow.
Tools, staff, like what resources would you need?
Wow, that's a really good question. Oh man. I mean, obviously funding is one thing. If I had funding, it's a bigger pool to pull from, because there's so many artists in our community that wants to do this kind of stuff, that wants to be like teaching in some capacity or like giving back in some way, but a lot of times it's a matter of like having like financial compensation for it, you know? So if I had the financial resources to bring people in and like kind of coordinate that relationship between the youth and the performers, that I think that'd be extremely helpful. But yeah, just also having the tools for the kids as well. So if I had like interfaces I can give the youth, like, or like give a little studio to each school, like I think that'd be like definitely like a huge help with like making something like this work, you know.
So if someone wanted to help, how would they reach out, or how would they?
Wow, bruh, good question. Someone wanted to help, how would they reach out?
Just to you personally,
yeah,
at this point, because I know the Good Guy Collective is still working on a website. That's one of our big goals for this year. Eventually, be able to reach out directly to us through the website. But at this point, you know, we still need to keep our productivity moving forward. So from here on out, man, like until we get to that point, you know, I think they could just reach out to you directly, right?
Yeah, hit me up directly. You know, I'm sure this video will have some kind of like contact info on it.
Have all kinds of stuff. And, you know,
kind of
packaged up. It's gonna look good.
Yeah, hit me up directly. Find a way you can support. You know, and it's not always financial. Like if you can come and volunteer or something like that and help out, it's always solely welcome. Totally welcome. So
what projects do we have coming up with the collective?
Projects? Oh man, we got a lot of dope stuff happening. One of the biggest projects we got coming up is the homie Kobayashi, Mr. Kobayashi. He's releasing his second album, but I'm gonna say it's his first full album because I think his first thing was kind of a mixtape. But yeah, he's releasing a project called Concept Ion. I won't go too deep into like what that's all about, but it's a really, really cool like deep analysis on just the Black experience from his point of view, but also like just how these concepts or these ideas are placed on people, you know, and how these ideas can kind of like control our lives, you know. So like, what are we putting our energy behind? So concept is, you know, what you take in, ideas, and ion represents a negative or positively charged atom. So what are you charging your thoughts, pretty much? So that's Kobe's project, but it's pretty solid. I produced the whole thing with support from the collective, and yeah, it should be dropping hopefully like this summer. So yeah, that's the biggest project we got coming out. It's like the first like real collectively produced. Everybody helped in some kind of way, whether it's us in the studio talking about lyrics, you know,
Yeah.
or us in the studio like working on a beat together, or us working on like producing like the mixes for the tracks and engineering. So yeah, we support each other big time on this project, and it's honestly one of the most proud project. I'm really proud of this project. You know, I feel like
I am too. I love it.
Yeah, I love it.
Everything I've heard sounds
I
great.
think we all focused on one of our artists, you know, so it's like, how do we pour into one individual but do it together? And I think that's really beautiful with the collective that we're able to do that, you know.
So any future projects on the horizon beyond Kobe's release?
Yes, we're actually doing a follow-up to the play I told you about, What the Water Tells Me, that collaboration with Caddy Wampus and the collective. And it's actually going to be speaking to another element. We're doing fire. So it's a story about colonization and slavery and how those systems are still at play in our life today. And it actually follows the character, or a character from the last piece. And it's right now the working title is Samuel's Fire. And yeah, it's all about fire and how we find resilience within those systems of oppression. And how we try not to polarize ourselves and continue to be trapped in those systems. So, yeah, it's a really it's a heavy project. However, it's going to be fun. It's going to be fire. Mm-hmm. Definitely fire. We got some really cool tracks that we're working on right now, and I'm just really excited to see how this project can open up to have more hands in terms of the music. Because What the Water Tells Me was primarily produced by me, because I was really in the process of like writing the play, so I really got the concept of it. But yeah, I think the fire show is going to be a lot more open. So it'll be a lot more voices speaking through this one, through production and, you know, and writing and all that good stuff. So yeah, Samuel's Fire, that's the next big one. So it's going to be a theater production for real.
Nice. Wasn't one of the main characters in the water show Sam?
Yeah, Samuel.
So is it a play off the same character, or like?
Yeah, it's a play. So how do I? Okay. I don't think they're ready. So it actually
Tell them.
So it actually came from this short story found online. And the short story was pretty much illustrating this book from this author. I forgot the author's name, but the book was actually called The Strangest Superstition, right? And it's all about America, you know, how America was founded. And like just hypocrisies in the system. But the short story was basically about this slave named Samuel that lived in a slave plantation with his family, you know, and whatever, his people. And the slaves continue to try to break free, right? So the slave master had to find a way to keep the slaves in bondage. So the short story is all about how the slave master tricks the people and it's accepting liberties instead of actually like wanting to break free and be free, break from freedom. So that's where like the polarity and polarity comes into play. You know, that slave master came and like and pretty much tricked the people into, hey, you can either vote Democrat or Republican. You can pledge to this flag. You can do this instead. But if you try to leave and escape, just another slave master is going to pick you up. So why leave? You know. So instilling that fear and just how that system continues to perpetuate itself through polarities and balances like that. You know. So yeah, it's speaking to that. And how do we like break free? One, realize that we're still in bondage, because like we tend to not notice it when it's
because the illusion that we have a choice.
The illusion we have a choice, exactly. So yeah, that's what the piece is speaking to, you know. But it spoke through the lens of hip hop and art, and how art can speak to these systems, you know, and try to shift the narrative. That's what it's about, shifting it. So
nice, man. I'm excited about it.
Yeah, man.
I'm very excited about it.
Oh, man.
Well, cool. This has been the first episode of the Builder's Block podcast. More to come soon. Jarius, my brother, one of my best friends, thank you for coming on and being the pilot guest.
Thanks for having me.
How can people find you, man, and check out more of your work?
Yeah, just look me up on Instagram, on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram, j.bush, and the S is a $, you know. But yeah, j.bu$H865 Instagram. Facebook, you can find my artist page, j.bush on Facebook. Yeah, Those are pretty much.
I think we're on all streaming platforms.
Yeah, we're on.
As of this summer as well.
Am I tripping, bro? I'm tripping, bro. I just dropped the album. I ain't talking about my album at all, bro.
We haven't talked about your album at all.
I'm tripping, man. So
let's talk about your album.
Let's talk about the album. So I released the album August of 2018 called Power Ups in collaboration with my homie Modify. He dropped the album called Levels, which was super in sync with each other because Levels, Power Ups, Levels. And it's a video game theme album, and it really delves into my childhood and what I enjoyed as a kid. Like I really enjoyed Sega Genesis, so it's a Sega feel to it. That was the one system that grabbed me. But just through that joy of video games, it kind of showed me in a real subliminal way of how reality is similar to that. You know, like for like a lot of like as I grow, there's always some kind of obstacle or some kind of boss that I'm like battling with internally. You know. And but also like there's obviously a system at play, you know, a video game system. So that the album was just a metaphor for that, like what systems are at play to keep us like not aware that we're in a game, you know. So yeah, the whole album just delves through different things happened through my childhood and just how I ultimately overcame those and just aware that I'm in a game. Why am I tripping? So yeah, that's what Power Ups is all about. It's finding the power through all of that, even though you're in a system. And yeah, you can find it on all streaming platforms. One of my songs I think is really catching some steam right now is No Peanut Butter. Just check it out as I drink a peanut butter beer. It's kind of empty now. But yeah, that's one of my biggest songs from that project. I think it's going to catch some more steam. But yeah, J.BU$H on all streaming platforms. Look up Power Ups. Yes.
Power Ups, all streaming platforms. All right, man. I think that about wraps it up. I want to thank the Bird in the Book for having us. It's a new bar out here in Maryville, Tennessee, on 5 Points on East Broadway. Come check us out. It's a really cool spot. We'll be doing the podcast from here moving forward. So, Bush, once again, man, thank you. All right, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah.